Make their cheddar how they want to.
Yeah. But think
That
of,
I don't. That's why I struggle by.
but think of the thing with Jay-Z. I mean, not Jay-Z, but J. Cole.
Hmm.
J. Cole writes and talks about most of all his music about the struggle of African Americans and the issues and stuff like that in his area. And he says it in a nice poetic way and everything like that. That's what he does. When someone attacked him, he immediately came back with a song because that's what he does. I don't expect Jay-Z to be out there leading the protest because he's a rapper. Now, if he's good at doing it, then let him do it. But if he's not,
Hmm.
why don't we put the people who are in the right? Because I don't need us. And Dave Chappelle said it best. They don't need a celebrity. We need people who actually know what the thing is, what's going on. The people who
Yeah.
actually are down there, who's in there. Not even me. I'm going to tell you how I feel about everything. I'm going to tell you what I can do. But what I'm going to do is take people who are on the outskirts, financial issues, mental issues, those kind of things. I'm going to address those things the best way I can with those people because that's what I know I can do. I can't fix every situation, but I can put my hand somewhere in that protest or in that movement. J. Cole put his hand in there by showing up. He didn't have to show up. He could have been in his house chilling saying, this ain't happened to me. I'm watching TV. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think we're searching for a leader. And we know the president doesn't represent us. Most presidents don't. Most presidents don't. Dante.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not even go there.
Let's not even go there. But anyway, most
Obama.
Yeah, that's my big homie, Obama, man.
most presidents don't represent us, but we don't have individual leaders. And I talked about that last time that our black leaders are killed when they start doing too much and being too powerful. They get killed. So how can we progress when we're separated all the time, even in our own community? They make sure that we're divided. That's why they show you those Candace Owens or those Terrence, whatever the guy's name is, or those two little twins, or
Brand. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Brandon Tatum.
is that the guys?
Oh, that's he used to be a black police officer that is a Republican and
Like David Clark? Is his name David Clark?
Yes. No.
Sheriff?
Yes. That is the sheriff. Yep.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I respect what they talk about, just not my cup of tea. Doesn't fit what I feel. With that being said, we still have an issue with finding people that look like us that can lead us. But when they're white, we assume, we give them more credit than they deserve, that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And when they get in office, they turn their backs. And they sometimes create laws that are even worse for us. The war on drugs, mandatory minimums. And we're not all criminals, but if you treat us like criminals already, it's easy to become a criminal. Because if I get stopped by the police, you can make me a criminal just like that.
Yeah.
Your taillight was out and you resisted arrest. Whoa, what you talking about? You get what I'm saying?
And if you stop us 100 times more often than everybody else, you're bound to find something. You're bound to.
Yeah. So,
And don't talk about plea deals. Don't talk about plea deals.
Oh, yeah.
Don't talk about plea deals.
Yeah.
Please don't do
that. It's
that.
rigged.
No community control. No community control. No house arrest. Those things will set you up for failure. I'm telling this to anybody in the system. Do not do probation.
Why are you trying to mess with Jarrell's money right now?
I'm not messing with Jarrell's money because I'm talking about Florida.
Okay.
I'm talking about Florida. It's a setup for failure.
All the time.
It's a setup for failure. Unless you got to
implement. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the implementation of plea deals across the board is awful. But and for people that don't understand, that may be listening, basically what it is they are going to give you an opportunity to plead guilty for a lesser sentence or a less harsh sentence. And what happens is it's that fear that now is instilled in us. Because if I go to trial, I'm looking at 10 years. If I take this plea deal, I get a suspended sentence and then I do probation. But people don't realize probation, you can do great. You get a 5-year probation. You can do great for 4 years, 364 days and mess up on that very last day and still go to jail for them 10 years.
Yep.
Perfection is what they want.
Yep.
So the implementation of that in Black America alone, again, across the board, it's awful. But with Black America, you're another statistic. That's just another way. I got the guilty. We got them as a record now. So now we got them where we want them. It's another way that they use to hold us down and create those criminal records. I don't want to get into a long soliloquy about it, but it burns me to no end when these plea deals are worked out, because you can be absolutely innocent, but because the fear that somebody of your peers is going to find you guilty, and now you're going to be looking at double, if not triple the time or hard time, people get afraid and people say, okay, I'll say I did it, so that way I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So, but that was my little piece. But I apologize for going off on another one, but
no, because sometimes we need to tie those things together, because a lot of times people think that who they're voting for or who they're rooting for is on their team, and the team that they're on, if you look at the history, is a team that's totally opposite than you. And sometimes a team that's the opposite that you normally don't go for may have the best track record for you.
Don't try to talk me into being a Republican right now.
I'm not talking about Republican. You know what I'm talking about. Libertarian.
No, you one of those Rand Paul people?
No, Joe Jorgensen.
Okay, I'll do my research, because I am speaking from a place of ignorance right now.
Well, at least
I will admit it. I will admit it.
You admit it. I was before, and I said it last time. I was pro hold your vote hostage. I made a hashtag and everything for it. I was telling people all the time, hold your vote hostage. And then I realized that I need to look at the third candidate, stop looking at the two candidates. And there's more than three, but the next best. And then Kanye happened to.
Kanye, what's up, baby? When you coming?
Hey,
when you coming to town, baby?
He just filed for the to run. So I don't know.
When he coming to Rabonia?
One, he can't get on the Florida ballot. So sorry, you won't be able to vote for him because he already missed that deadline.
Well,
okay?
We're not trying to vote for him.
Dante is? Dante trying to vote for him? Oh, Paul Gerald.
He gonna come to Seattle. You gonna vote for him?
Nah, but I actually want to use Yeezy as an example of how crazy this country is and how money can really distort you. I just want 1 minute here. When Kanye first came out, he was the most blackety black man on this planet. They don't care about us on national TV, right? The block party, all this dope stuff. I mean, those albums, right? And now we fast forward to now, and we got Trumpety Trump and invisible airplanes and MAGA hats. If you don't see how bad this country can distort you from yourself because of money, to me, Kanye is the poster child of what you don't want. Sorry, I had to do my thing right there, man. Sorry.
I've been pushing this episode off so long, and I swear next time I'm doing this episode,
okay,
I'm just gonna have to break out into it because he said the exact same thing we talked about last episode. But it ties into how I almost became that Candace Owens kind of figure, because my mindset was on, it's not me, it's your issue. If you black and you get pulled by the police, that's your fault. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. If you black and you get caught up in this, it's because in my mind, I was hanging around the right white folk or the right people that looked the part until with some of them same folk, and you start getting those looks while you eating, and you just like, well, why are they looking at me like this? I'm one of you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Until you ain't.
Forgetting that this don't come off because I talk this way. This doesn't come off because I think I'm that way. No. And then when you hang around certain people, they don't see what you see. So they're thinking, oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And then you look over, they're just staring at you like this. And you're just like, well, what did I do? So then you realize that, wait a minute, I forgot. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass. These are people who were educated and still got their issues. You know what I'm saying? Still, some died and, some got killed. So now I look back and I say, how foolish I was of trying to follow the American dream that wasn't never meant for me.
I'm still going to take it. I don't care. They're going to have to stop me.
I want to transition to our last topic. And this one's I had a trouble with. I'm going to speak a lot less of this topic because I don't even know how to place it. So a young man who's done a lot of work on TV, or movies, stuff like that, had his podcast and he said certain things that rubbed some people the wrong way. And then he got fired. Like a cannon. Nick Cannon.
He got fired like
yeah, that was
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there.
that was good.
So he got fired for saying things that were his truths.
Mm-hmm.
They were his truths, and he wanted to let the world. Well, he wasn't even talking to the world. He was talking to former member of Public Enemy, and I'm gonna mess up the name, Professor something. Either way, I'll have the link to it. But he was talking about a lot of different things. He was talking about. I think the biggest thing that got him in trouble was he delved in saying that people with less melanin were less. They're less than people with melanin, and because of that, it's sort of almost the opposite of what we right now. We have less, so we spend more time trying to get to that level of more, and we become what they view as more violent or I'm not using the word violent because we're not violent in that sense like that, but we do things to get to that level. We do more. We would do more off-brand things to get to that level. So what they were saying, what he was saying was that, and I'm trying to make it as clean as possible. I mean, he said it clean, but I'm trying not to go the route he did because I don't want them canceling me. Although there's nobody to cancel me, so I really don't care. But what he was saying was that they were savages, they raped people, those kind of things, because that they was looking for that God complex that we have because that's what they viewed us as. So when they met us, we taught them things. We gave them information, and they want to get that. So they did anything they could to get that. And he was saying once they realized that they can mix the race and make a lighter version of part of them and part of us, that's what's started this whole transition from, because we're people of faith, we know what Jesus looks like. The true Jesus. You know what Jesus looks like. So we know he was a little bit darker than what they show on these pictures and stuff like that. So when we look at the community of Jewish today, they don't represent that. So he was saying that the true Jews were pretty much
black people.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I beat around that bush real long.
You did.
I was beating around that bush for a long time.
Look, it's a touchy topic, man.
I was wrestling with my mind trying to talk about it, and full disclosure, my girl, she's mixed. She identifies as mixed, not identifies as white or as black. She's both races, so she takes in consideration of both races. But a lot of her ideas and mindsets are formed from her culture, which she grew up, which was black. So she identifies a lot of times with those struggles and things like that. She's been in the store together with me, and they're following us around, and we probably make more than what they make in the whole store, but they still follow us around. But talking to her about it, she's like, unless I researched all that information, I don't know if that's just truth. You know what I'm saying? So what he's saying to somebody could be false, and they take offense of that, and that's not fair, because what he was saying, could hurt somebody, telling somebody that they're not something. And I was defensive. I was like, well, tough. We've been hurt before. They've been taking our identities for years. It's about their time. And I thought about it. I was like, well, I got a lot of friends who don't feel the way that a lot of these people feel today about us. So I had to pull my mind out of that situation. That's what was making me hard to talk about it, because if you're Jewish today and your history has got some issues with people treating you terribly, as well as blacks. But this is my issue. America has done their best to make sure that the Jewish people are comfortable. Whereas with the black people who they did all this harm and heinous things to, they still treat them like crap. And because of that, it makes me feel like, what is so important about preserving that relationship and not preserving the ones who actually are from this area? Because if you think about it, we're original Americans here. We were brought here to build this land, so we are the most patriotic because we went through all the struggles. So what makes us so bad to them? And hearing how Nick was explaining, and I've heard these stories before and heard these conversations before about the true Jews being black and stuff like that. And it could be an identity thing right now with us. Again, like I talked about before, it could be an identity crisis, and we're still hoping that that's who we are. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if that's the truth, then we continue to say these kind of things. It doesn't get us anywhere. And that's what Angela's saying. What if it is true? Does it help us move forward? Or if it's not true, is it ever going to move us forward? Or are we going to sit here and fight and argue about if it's true or not? And I had the same conversation with Dante about, I think they're called, what do you call the Hebrew
Israelites.
Yes. And I was saying, when people talk from that realm, if they're not talking and they're not throwing daggers at you trying to prove a point, then you have to ask them, what is their faith? What do they believe about this that makes it so right? You know what I'm saying? Versus trying to prove that you're wrong. If they can't tell you that, then sometimes that's the disconnect. They're trying to prove facts over your faith and everything like that. And that's what Jesus and God is a faith thing. It's a relationship. So facts don't always correlate to something being factual. As we know, we studied history books all our lives, and they were telling us Christopher Columbus discovered America. And I'm just like, well, wait a minute, hold on, he didn't really discover America. So why? So in the same thing,
people were already here.
So so why would they tell us the truth now about the Jewish community? But then I ask, my question is this: what makes them so special to even have to hold that information back? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's where I started like, okay, well, maybe he's up to something, because they fired him pretty quick. So I'm like, maybe he was onto something.
I think he fell victim. Now, maybe because we know the standards are not the same for everybody, so I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah.
But I think he fell victim to what anybody in entertainment or who has a platform is going to fall victim to. We have an outrage culture. Let's not pretend to condemn it, because that's what makes the money. People getting upset and putting their eyeballs on your screen, but it can cut back. So you said something that wasn't very popular, and now you got to live with that, right? And now he's going on his little apology tour. And honestly, I look at it like, look, man, this has been happening to a lot of people right now on both sides of the spectrum.
Mm.
So look, he slipped up. He made his choice to be in the entertainment business and say something so foolish like that, at least in public, express his views candidly like that. So I think, look, I'm gonna let Nick talk. I'm not gonna cancel Nick, but if NBC gonna cancel him, I mean, he knew who he was in business with.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
But I think it goes back to your point, this whole notion of, identity crisis, because it don't matter. Right? Whatever that's like, when you look at the Confederate flag, to me, that's people trying to find like worth for themselves. Right?
Mm.
That's poor white people looking at America saying, why am I doing so bad? Let me hang on to something. Because guess what? This country is failing you too, right? Because there's no reason in this country that any of us should be struggling the way we're struggling, right?
True. That is true.
But instead, it's our fault. It's Mexicans' fault. It's somebody else's fault. And so they cling to that. They cling to that thing. And I think a little bit of what he was talking about is trying to cling to something, which has always kind of confused me, because I don't need nobody to tell me my worth, right? Like, I'm as black as I'm gonna be. I was that way when I came out. I'm gonna be that way when I go out. I value myself, and I don't care what you say. I'm not gonna Debbie doubt myself because you wanna try to hold me back. It sucks. It sucks that we gotta constantly try to prove ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But I don't need some story about, being the lost tribe of Israel or whatever. And look, I might die one day and wake up somewhere and they be like, look, Eric, you done missed out because you didn't know. You believed the wrong story. And, shoot, the truth is we all going to have to make our peace when that happens.
Yeah.
But we don't need those stories to know our value. We know our value. We have the history of our value. Right? Like, and it's the craziest thing. I mean, we were literally wealth. Think about that. Wealth. Our bodies were wealth.
Currency. We were currency.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to know anything else about your value beyond that. There's a lot that these two hands can do. And so, but we spend a lot of times, trying to find some way to justify, their hatred or their lack of empathy, which, I think that was probably one of those dangerous topics that he was getting on. Someone once said to me, they are culturally deficient. And I'm like, look, if you look at history, I think you'll find flaws in every culture for sure. What they value and what they put forward first is not what I put forward first. But I'm not gonna, I don't want to get into that dangerous territory, because when you start saying I'm better than you, you better than me, we get real close to what they doing right now.
And I think that's where he got really tangled up, because as I heard him say it, he was like less. He said that they feel like they're less, and he was reading from what the book, I think a book he was reading said. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is this: when you have a platform, especially when he has a bigger platform, and he works with so many different, different people, different diverse people, and everything like that, and he has bosses, and not necessarily bosses of his show, but someone who writes a check to get his show on there, and he's the boss of others. He has to take into consideration, I'm a CEO. I'm Wild and Out CEO. If I say something wrong, they can cancel me. And if I cancels me, I just now made everyone everyone now jobless. Yeah. And the bad thing about this, if you worked with him, you may get burned too. Because now they say, well, you worked on Wild and Out.
Yeah. Birds of a feather.
I ain't hiring you. Yeah. So now you spent in their season. So say you spent 6 years with him. You have a gap of 6 years you got to erase, because they're saying, well, you worked with him. You may have the same views as him. It's unfair, because people on the other end can say whatever they want about us, or let things get said about us, and they're okay with it. But you also have to know you have to know your environment. And I think you have to be human first.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, you got to be human first and have a heart to understand that even if you feel a certain way about a group of people, or you feel, let me not say a group of people, but you feel a way about some information that you obtained, you can't assume that your information that you got is, even if it's true, you can't assume that everyone's going to receive it the way you received it. And I think in that mindset he was talking about, the guy he was talking to received it. He's trying to dish it out. So he's having a conversation with him, and they're both receiving it. But your client, your audience is going to be like, whoa. You know, even people that look like him be like, I don't know about that. You know, So think of Jesus. You know, people always looking for ways to say Jesus didn't exist. I mean, there's all kinds of things that says that Adam and Eve wasn't here. You know, all those kind of things. And if evidence came out that any of that was true, how many lives would it affect? Millions.
Right.
Maybe billions.
Billions.
Yeah. Because now you're thinking all the stuff I believed for all this time is wrong, you know? Or it may never come out because the people who are in charge may already knew. You get what I'm saying? So it's like they're not going to allow it to come out. So they just erase the person who says they're going to come out or who finds evidence. Is it worth it, though? At the end of the day, he told this story, and I'm not knocking him for saying it. He said what he said. He apologized. But was it worth having that conversation on air? You get what I'm saying? We choose the conversations that we have here, but I try to make sure that our topics are very much based on reality of what life is, and then get points of views of it. And my points of views I know are sometimes obscure. It depends on the day, you know, depends on what news media I saw earlier, you know. But I would never ever, I always look for the human part of it. Like, why do we have to suffer that? Why is it not this? Not you are, because you're the blame. I gotta tell you that you aren't worth, you know, you're worth less than me now, you know. And that goes to, I think it's weird that he said it knowing what he was up against, you know. I thought that would have been a conversation, if you're going to have it at your house, you know, a cigar and some cognac or something like that, and it's just like a joking material, you know. Not on
the
a
word.
Yeah, so
yeah. Hey, Jarrell, you're muted.
If I mean, I go back to the N word, and you know, you have to understand what you're saying, and you also got to be okay with the backlash that may happen based off of what you say. And you know, we can debate and we can talk and, you know, question whether or not it should have happened, it should have reached that level, we should have got to that point. I mean, we can do that. But at the end of the day, like we talked about, you know, whether it's bosses or whether it's public opinion, any of it, you know, I look at it as somewhat the same as what we are going through, where, you know, people are speaking out and people are saying things against Black Lives Matter and saying all lives matter, and, you know, stating their opinion, which, you know, they have their rights. But when you make it public, when they go on Facebook and put it out there, that's public. You put it on Twitter, you put it on Instagram. That's, so you got to understand that there can be criticism. Just like I understand, if I say Black Lives Matter, I understand that there may be some criticism with that. And I'm okay with that, because I will debate you, I will talk to you about it, I will let you know my feelings about it. And I think if he did anything, in my opinion, wrong, is, you know, he went back and apologized. Whether it was to mend some things, and maybe he didn't think it was going to reach that level, but that's being unaware. So what I feel about what he said, I think that there was some good stuff in there. What I've learned in marriage is it's not always what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
the context of how you say
Context.
it, the tone of how you say it. And I think maybe if he would have used some different words, it could have been different. But again, at that time, he chose to use those words and say those things. And I don't think, you know, maybe I'm just naive. You know, I don't think he intentionally meant to hurt anybody. I think he was speaking, you know, off the top, speaking his heart, speaking what he felt. But at the end of the day, like you guys had already said, you know, when you got an audience, when you got bosses, when you got those things, you got to be mindful of what you do. I don't work for myself. I work for somebody else. So if I'm on social media, you know, or put it this way, example, I want to go get a job, but my Facebook is littered with all I do is drink and I got a drink in my hand every night. Well, if that employer goes back and like, well, you know, let me do a thorough check. Let me check them out. And they go into my Instagram, Facebook or something, and all I got is a drink. Well, that might give them a perception of me that is not really reality, but that just might be people caught me when I just had a drink. Or either way, it's going to affect maybe if they hire me or if they don't hire me. And I think that we all have to be, I'm not saying that you got to be cognizant of what you say. You just got to be cognizant of that there could be a backlash or there could be issues based on what you say. And I think I'm not going to say he did. He may not have done that. But like we talked about, you know, that controversy thing, maybe it was a play and he was doing it for a certain reason, but maybe that certain reason didn't come out like it was supposed to. And then lastly, what I'll say is I think what frustrates me with that is I think people are going to use that to downplay Black Lives Matter.
Oh, for sure. But they'll use anything.
Exactly. And that's where I get frustrated. Like, we got this great movement going on. We got these things that we're trying to do, these things we're trying to change. And, you know, unfortunately, those comments are going to turn people off. The same thing when we talked about rioting and looting. The protest wasn't the issue. But when things start happening, buildings start, you're going to turn a lot of people off to what the core is of what you're talking about. So, you know, again, there were some good things that I think he said and that he went into, and I can understand somewhat of where his train of thought was, but you just have to be mindful of the outcome or a possible outcome in this day and age, with social media. Same thing with police officers. You used to be able to go do what you needed to do, and I preach to people, police officers have more discretion than the president. They can take your life and all they got to do is write down on paper why they did it. And for the most part, it used to be, okay. But now we got this social media. Everybody got a phone. Everybody got that. And everybody has an opinion and wants to be heard. Yeah. So he violated that part maybe of not educating himself fully, thinking about what could happen and thinking about the effects of what he said. It's almost like one of those kids and older people, I won't say old, but older people that don't have a filter. They just say what they say, and they don't think about how it could make somebody feel or how it could hurt somebody. Deshaun Jackson did the same thing. And when we look at it, it just gets frustrating because in this day and age, I think we have to be more vigilant because we have a movement, a conversation that we're trying to have. And I want every ear possible that we can have. I don't want somebody turned off because somebody said something that really doesn't have to do with the movement, but you're going to use it as that. So, but that's all I had with Nick Cannon, man. I still don't like the apology per se. I understand why he did it. I think maybe I'm frustrated at us as a community because I know he got a lot of backlash from African Americans about making that apology. But again, he was worried about that bottom line. He was worried about all those issues then. I needed you to do that
ahead of
days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything, Dante?
Man,
Pastor?
I could go down so many different avenues. I don't even know where to go. I will say this. All right, I'll start here. I was looking up to kind of see what his religion was, and what he kind of believed in. Only thing I saw was Christianity. However, I do know that when I hear people start talking about that the black people are the real Israelites and stuff like that, usually that means that they are Hebrew Israelites. But I couldn't find that, so I'm not going to say that he participates in that. I will say that I personally did not have too much of an issue with what he said. My issue was that, because I mean, all right, the reason why I say that is because, as you all said earlier, you have so many other people that say things about black people all the time, and it'll be almost like, they didn't mean it that way. You're reading too much into it. You're being too soft, or you wearing your heart on your, yes, your heart is on your sleeve. Sensitive, yes. So that's why I was like, okay, if it could be looked at it like that for us, why can't it be looked at it the same way from there? So that's why I was like, I mean, I hear what he was saying. I mean, but at the same time, if you're comfortable in your own skin, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, he said something that you didn't agree with, keep it pushing. Trump said a lot of stuff that I don't agree with. Yes, I voted for him. He says a lot of stuff that I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Mm-hmm. I don't rock with him.
Not enough to stop that vote, though.
Yeah, that
was before. That was before.
He said a lot on that campaign trail, Dante. Were you listening? I'm sorry. All right, I'm done.
I just heard what Hillary was saying, and I heard what she said like 20 years ago, and how she never came out and apologized for it. And I was like, I ain't trying to hear that.
Don't come at me like he been saying stuff for a long time too.
You right. However,
you chose the lesser of two evils in your mind.
Yes, I did.
Okay,
and I lost. I was playing Russian roulette, and I lost.
Well, anyway. You don't really know if you lost or not.
No, it felt like
and funny.
I feel like I did. But yeah, so people say a lot of stuff, man, all the time that that people don't agree with, and not all the time, there's this big backlash, and and so that's why I understand why people will probably say he didn't need to apologize. I remember seeing something that he wasn't going to apologize, but then he went and did that. So then it's like, all right.
That's where they got it at. He said, what I said is what I felt, or something like that, and I wasn't going to apologize for it. But he ended up going and apologized. But as you remember, Kevin Hart.
Yep, I bet you he would apologize.
We did something years ago. Somebody found it. He said, you know what? I apologize for it. And apologize again.
I ain't going to do it again. Yeah.
Ellen wanted him to do some special treat to make sure. And he's like, that's not my fight. That's not me. I don't have to host this. Y'all can go ahead and live your life. And that's when I started. And we were talking about Kevin Hart earlier. I respect him because he took the initiative to say, look, I'm an entertainer. I'm not an activist. This is not my fight. I understand this. I said some things like many other people have said years ago because I'm a comedian. And we were on the Twitter, which is not the standard for saying that's how I feel. It's a standard for making people like or view your stuff. With that being said.
But you can't forget the black tax.
He apologized. Yeah. He apologized. But now he moved on. Nick Cannon is going to be the same way. Eventually, he'll apologize again. And then this may last longer because it was against the the way they base it is they're basing it on it's anti-Semitic,
Right.
not just going against one group of people. And this is what went back to what I was saying earlier. It seems that Jewish people are held at a different level than even regular Americans. And I don't understand that. I never understood that. Not saying that's a problem, but it's confusing to me, because if he just would have said these were just regular white folk, which he did say part of that, he was talking about white people and stuff like that, and how Farrakhan said about the white devils and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They would have been okay with that. But once he said that blacks were like the true Jews, and he started making it seem like they weren't the original and stuff like that, I think that's where they said, no, he can't say this. This is me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But ignorance, because you got to know where your checks come from. Who's signing those checks?
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think the woman that is over it, she is Jewish.
Yeah. So you can't. You can't.
So like I said, I really didn't have an issue too much of what he said. I mean, hey, it's free. You say what you want to say, like Jarrell said. You know, if you gonna say stuff, then you got to be ready for what comes.
Yeah,
right.
Just like you said, you vote for Trump, you got to be dealing with us.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. I'm good with it. But the thing that I think that bothered me the most is I was like, man, I know he's a very intelligent guy. And now that I see it now, he's like, I want you guys to give me the rights to wilding out. So I'm like, whoa, you didn't negotiate this in the beginning.
Yes.
And so now you gonna sit here and you do this, and then they fire you, and now you tell my son, hey yo, by the way, as you walking out the back door, I need them rights.
Not walking out the back door.
Now you messed up.
Getting thrown out the back door.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I need my rights. And you know what they're gonna do with it? They're not gonna use it. They're not gonna play it. They're gonna give him that. They just gonna burn it.
Gonna give him that.
They just gonna burn it. No, you ain't getting it. Go to court. You don't have enough money to take me to court for it. I'm sure that contract a long time ago when he signed it, and every year he signed it, had some clause in there that will cover them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Morality clauses.
I agree. Yep. But that was the biggest thing that I probably was like, man, dang. You said that you wasn't gonna apologize, and you went out and apologized. You already did it. You know, if you felt like you didn't do nothing wrong, then what you apologizing for? Then on top of that, now you asking for them to give you this, and you did this. So that's the only thing I'm just like, dang, you messed up.
He should have listened to Kanye and said, wait till I get my money right. You can't tell me nothing. Right? I mean,
till I get my money right. Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I can think of. At that moment, I'm like, wait a minute, you ain't got I think of masters when I think of that stuff. Like, you ain't got these rights already? You've been doing this for this long, and you just now asking?
Exactly.
Wow.
And he supposed to be a big dog.
But you know what? When you don't write the check, or you don't own the business, and I'm talking about the business or the entity that you're in, you have to follow the rule. No one can come in my house and tell me to shut down this podcast. No one can come and say, you can't talk about these things on the podcast, because I don't work under anybody. Now, the only person that probably can do that is the one who I live with. And if you tell me to shut it down, then I'm going to do that. But that's a different situation. But other than that, no one's going to do that. But I still, in that same sense, would never say anything that doesn't honor what I believe, fully. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not knocking him for what he said, because that's what he believed. I'm just personally, if I say something against another group of people, I got to have 6 or 7 books to back it up, and then a militant group with me to be able to support it, because I put myself in a position that's going to cause nothing but havoc and controversy. And that may breed success for views, but it's going to cause another havoc of people trying to pick apart my life and all the, and I'm a hypocrite. So I'm a sinner. So I don't need that. And for one, what he says, let's say it's true. Let's just today say this is true. What does it change?
You already
First off,
know.
they don't change nothing, and it's not true. But yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know.
Let's not have that debate, Dante.
we're not having that debate.
I don't know. It doesn't change anything.
It doesn't change anything. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. If it doesn't change anything, then why do we worry about it?
Yep.
We got other things to worry about. Let's worry about the equality.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The whole identity. That's basically what it is. You know, that's what it is.
Well, I guess that's going to transition us.
But that's why you got to find your identity in Christ.
Pastor.
All right, I'm going to bed.
All right. This is how we closing it out. The end of the day, end of the night, talking about Nick Cannon getting canned. It was good talking. I want to thank everybody for viewing. I promise this time, next week, I will talk about the Candace Owens. Y'all keep shaking your head, but I have to bring it out.
Okay.
I'm going to listen to Eric.
I ain't going near her.
No, it's my story.
Okay.
It's how you'll see the blend, what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been in the making, so we'll have that conversation.
Candace Owens.
I thank you guys again. And well, I guess we'll see everybody else next time. And remember, don't say anything that you don't want on the internet.
Why didn't you say that at the top, Byron?
Erase this whole thing. Erase it.